What's going on, Canes fans? I hope that you guys are cool with these kind of less formal videos. I'm still in the studio, but I don't feel like setting up the mic and all the audio equipment and filming from the camera and then post-production and color grading and all that nonsense. Sometimes I just want to turn on my phone, press record, and we just chill and talk for a few minutes. I kind of dig that. I can just pace back and forth in my room. Some of these get me too worked up, so I don't want to be sitting down. I'd rather be walking around. And I want to talk about a little bit of how do I put this? A rumor going around that the reason we don't have an offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator on the staff right now is because nobody wants to work with Mario Cristobal because he's a hard guy to work for and with, and nobody wants to come down to Miami and work for this guy. And what I wanted to talk about in regards to that is that I think it's a complete load of BS, garbage, trash take. I don't think that that's really what's going on at all. That's the most ridiculous thing I have ever heard. Now, don't get me wrong. I've heard that Mario Cristobal is a no-nonsense kind of guy. And, maybe that is something that's a turnoff for some people. Maybe some guys don't want to answer to someone who's straight, no BS, no nonsense. But that would actually be a positive. That would be a good thing for us, guys, because we want our head coach to be a guy that puts up with no BS. And I would be perfectly fine if that's the scenario of what's going on here. But at the same time, it's almost February, right? So if I remember correctly, Mario Cristobal was hired on around December 6th. So we're going on 2 months now, and Mario still has not hired an OC and a DC. So how long is too long? How much time does he really have to make this thing happen and wrap it up? But I wanted to just dismiss the rumor right out of the gate. I believe that that's FSU fans and Oregon fans that just really hate Miami, and Oregon fans that are still kind of resentful and upset that Mario Cristobal left them. So they're trying to push this rumor on social media that nobody wants to work for Mario Cristobal, and I don't think that's the case because at the end of the day, I hate being the guy that bursts your bubble, but we don't have the pick of anyone that we want. I always preach this to Miami fans that, because we're Miami fans, we feel like we can get anybody, right? Who doesn't want to come down to South Florida, sunshine, beaches, big money? Who doesn't want to come down here? But the reality of the situation is that it's not for everyone. And we don't have free reign to just say, we want that guy, and then he comes and starts coaching at Miami. But there's also the fact that, it is a pretty nice offer. Let's be real. Upwards of $1.5 to $1.8 million a year to come be a coordinator at Miami. Even if it was someone who chose to use it as a stepping stone, it's a pretty nice offer. Let's just be real. Now, at the same time, also, I'm going to play devil's advocate here. Some coaches might possibly see Miami as a little bit of a death sentence. Let's be real. Look at the history over these last few years. 1 to 3 years tops, and you're getting canned. You're left hanging high and dry because if the expectations aren't met, and they're pretty darn high, we're cleaning house, right? And then even if we ain't cleaning house, the coordinators and various position coaches get kicked to the curb. So maybe they're a little timid. Maybe they're a little scared to come down to Miami. So we're weeding out the weaklings, right? And I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself because I wanted to make it known that the point of this video is to discuss with you guys what we really think the holdup is here. All joking aside, guys, let's come down to reality for just a moment and talk about what we really think is holding up this OC and DC hire. Because, again, it's been almost 2 months now, and we still really don't have a firm grasp on who we actually think is up for the job, who's interested, who's been interviewed. But that's a sign of multiple things here. I do believe that there are a lot less leaks with Mario Cristobal running the ship. There's not as much stuff that gets put out there, and I'm okay with that. I don't see why that's really necessarily an issue. It's a good thing because a lot of times these rumors get started, and little bits and pieces get leaked out, and one thing leads to another, and sometimes things could happen, and it could be a turnoff for some specific people, or all sorts of different stuff. So that's okay. He keeps things under wraps. He keeps everything in house, and that's cool. But I just want to go back to what I said, a couple of weeks ago, that I personally still very strongly feel like the big holdup with all this is the fact that some of our main targets for both offensive and defensive coordinator could possibly still be coaching in the NFL. Now, we're coming down to a close here, right? We're finally down to the Super Bowl. It's the Bengals and the Rams. And we've talked about at least one coach on the Bengals that could possibly, maybe have something to do with some interest for the OC position. Do I think there's any truth to that specifically? I don't know. If we're being real, most people don't know because, people are still talking about Joe Brady and how he's back in the mix, or maybe he was never out of the mix, but he's holding out for the NFL. There was talks about Ken Dorsey. That would be another NFL person, but he wants to stay in the NFL. But if you see what I'm saying, the point I'm making is that could be why there is such a holdup. What if Ken Dorsey was target number one? What if there was another guy who's an OC or who's currently a position coach, passing game coordinator, quarterbacks coach, wide receiver coach, that has been in these playoffs coaching NFL teams, and Mario was waiting it out because that was our number one or number two target, right? So we're having to wait and see. And some small interviews and other things could be happening, but at the end of the day, their season needed to come to an end before anything serious could happen. Now, with that being said, we're down to the Rams and the Bengals. It's possible, we just had a couple of other playoff games the other day. Maybe it was someone on those staffs. But I don't know for sure. This is all speculation, and I'm doing a lot of assuming here. There's also the fact that it could be someone who is at the college level, because there's a lot of very popular names in the mix here. It could be guys that are currently at the college level who are possibly holding out for an NFL job. So maybe Miami is not choice number one for them. And I know, we're going to cry and moan and complain because we want Miami guys and, we want Miami to be the place that they want to be. But maybe they're holding out to wait and see. And that would involve waiting for the NFL season to come to a close before they make that decision. AKA, again, Joe Brady is the perfect example. Maybe he wants to hold out, conduct a couple of interviews, and then if it doesn't seem like it's going to work out at the NFL level, then he comes down to be an OC at Miami, and then he works his way up the ranks from there. It's a real possibility. I'm just putting it out there, all right? So we've got to really just be honest and upfront and use our brains, guys, because there's just so much assuming going on social media, and some people are just cracking jokes, but some people are serious. For some people, they're treating this like it's a life or death situation, man. Like, we have no OC and no DC, and it's about to be February. And to an extent, I get it, right? Because there's talks about Shamar Stewart, not wanting to come to Miami because he doesn't even know who the defensive coordinator is going to be, what kind of scheme are we going to run, and all this stuff. But I will say, I know this is going to catch some flack and get a little bit of hate. I would not rush a hire for one specific recruit. I mean, I hope we pull Stewart, and I think he's a baller, but I'm not going to say, all right, well, you know what? Let's just take option number 2 or number 3. Let's go ahead and get him in here because we're trying to land Shamar Stewart. You know what I mean? Because he might still flip. He might pull out the Jackson State hat for all we know anyways. So, that's a stupid reason to do it. But my question, again, to you is, what is the real holdup here? What do you really think is holding up these hires? Do you think that it's because no one wants to work for Mario Cristobal, or no one's interested in coming down to Miami? Do you think he's hard to work for? Are you on board with me in thinking that it's somebody who's currently in the NFL or someone who's holding out for an NFL job and Miami is not their first choice? Also, I want you to let me know I want you to let me know how much time does he really have left? Is that something like, where do you draw the line on that? Can you really put a deadline on it? You know what I'm saying? For most people, it would be signing day, but I don't know if that's going to happen unless these hirings have already happened. And they have done an absolute amazing job at letting nothing leak out. And I mean, to be fair, it's possible. It is, because I feel like there have been times where Mario has purposely, possibly even leaked some stuff out to kind of find out who the rats are, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? Like, who are the people that are trying to put this information out there? And a lot of these things that, went out ended up not being true. Am I right? We've been talking about potential people that were locked in, and it's definitely this guy, since a couple of weeks into December, and we're in February and nothing's happened, right? So how long is too long? I mean, there are people joking that Miami's going to be in spring practice and Cristobal is going to be coaching up the offense and the defense. Now, that's a little extreme. I do not anticipate heading into spring practice with no OC and no DC. I think that's absolutely ridiculous. A hire will happen before then. But for me, I think he's got to make a hire within the next 1 to 2 weeks. At this point, when it comes down to recruiting and not having an OC and DC, it's kind of late for that. If most of the time these kids have made up their mind at this point. I don't think it comes down to the hats are sitting on the table and they're making up their mind right then, right? So, maybe they have a good idea of who it might be. Maybe Mario has disclosed this information, that there's maybe a verbal commitment from a particular OC and or DC, or, hey, it's going to be one of 2 guys or 3 guys, and maybe these recruits have a good idea of it. And, it could show their respect for Cristobal that they're keeping it under wraps and they're not saying anything or leaking it out. So it could also be that. But I'm sticking with my original prediction that, if someone comes out and they get hired and it is a college guy, like let's use Doug Belk, for instance. He's at Houston. So why then, if he's one of the top targets, why haven't we pulled the trigger on him? He's not in the NFL. And the thing is, I don't even think that Doug Belk would be holding out for an NFL job. So, that takes my personal explanation and throws it out the window. So for that, I don't have an answer. I don't know if Doug Belk is a top guy. Maybe he's not interested. More pay, moving from Houston to Miami, it all sounds like a good idea. He has, I don't know. I don't have an answer. And that's what's so intriguing, but in a sense, a bad way, with this entire situation. And I'm kind of just perplexed, and I really don't know. I have people, just like everyone else, guys, when people say they have sources, or some like to call them sauces, or they have insiders that feed them information. I've said many a time that, I have a few people that text me, but mostly I just keep all that information to myself, because at the end of the day, sometimes it's right, sometimes it's wrong. I do text occasionally with some of the current players, and, everybody's lips are sealed, man. Nobody seems to know exactly what's going on, or they're just not talking, So I just, at this point, man, this is not how I expected to wrap up this video, but at this point, y'all, I don't know. I'm speechless. I'm going to stand by my original predictions. If you don't know who I'm predicting for OC and DC and who I think's up for the job, just look back a couple videos on my channel. We've done a ton of videos discussing it and talking about it, and I'm sure there'll be plenty more if these hires don't happen this week. But I do think it's got to be soon. I think it's got to be in the next 1 to 2 weeks. And man, it's got to be splash hires at this point. At the end of the day, Mario Cristobal is not looking for our stamp of approval. So he's going to get his guys, the ones that he wants. And if Canes fans are upset, they'll prove us wrong, right? Hopefully, anyways. But if we start booing and say, "Oh, you took 2 months to hire this guy," they're not going to pay attention to any of that noise. You know what I'm saying? They're going to get down to business and get to work. But I do feel like it's got to be some splash hires, right? You don't take 2 months from December 6th and then wait until the first week of February to hire an up-and-coming guy. You don't do that, do you? Do you? I don't think so, man. I think it's gonna be splash hires. I don't know. I want to see what you guys think. Your speculation. We're doing a lot of assuming, and that's okay because that's the point of this video. Like I said, it's very informal. I'm walking back and forth with my cell phone. Maybe I'm not even in frame. I don't know. I'll find out here in a few minutes. If I'm not, I'm gonna upload it anyways. But man, it's crazy times to be a Canes fan. Just don't listen to the trolls. I guess, that's one of the other points I'm trying to make on Twitter, man. They're spreading lies left and right and trying to make it look like because we lost T-Rob and McClendon and, they're coming for DVD that our program is in shambles and no one wants to work for Mario Cristobal. Man, don't listen to any of that BS. None of that nonsense, bro, because at the end of the day, I want guys that want to truly make a difference at Miami and guys that want to be here. So if they don't, then move on. Next man up. And if it takes some time, then it takes some time. We're always complaining. Canes fans will argue about anything. You know what I mean? We're going too fast. We're going too slow. We're taking too long. You know what I mean? It's always something. So hopefully he comes out, Mario, with some splash hires that shuts up all the Canes fans, myself included. I'm throwing myself in this category, all right? And I think that is 100% what will happen. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. I appreciate all the love on my videos lately. 20K in 2022. We're trying to hit 20,000 subscribers this year. We're over 17,000 right now. So I think we can make it happen. Tell your baby mama, your cat, your grandma, whoever, have them sub to the channel. Once we do, I'll be doing some giveaways for the people who are subscribed. And you'll have to be subscribed to be eligible. So let's do it. Let's hit that goal. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. Remember, guys, we're all one big happy college football family. But at the end of the day, I gotta say, it's always better when you get to rep the U. Man, I've ranted and rambled for almost 20 minutes. Oh boy. Coach Coop, peace out.